I first met he and his mom, Jan, in the spring of 1984 when I recruited him. He was this long string bean of a wrestler. A lot of times that might scare a college coach away from somebody because you know, he was built like a basketball player at that time. You know, but I saw something in him that I really liked.
Wrestling's been part of my life. Like I said, I started in 3rd grade and I've followed it tight all the way through.
I know that you're not supposed to have favorites, but I always had a real affinity, you know, for Donny, his work, mainly his leadership. I saw in Donny this ability that everybody wanted to be around Donny, and everybody loved Donny. And I knew that that was important in building a program. And so I was able to build the program while he was a student athlete. You know, it was primarily because of his influence on the program. And then, of course, in my time, you know, we won 10 national championships. And I don't think it's any coincidence that Donny was part of every one of those 10 national championships. Donny Wichmann is the hardest worker I know. Donny, you know, works a full-time job. Then he's just about out every single night or every single weekend at youth wrestling tournaments or with high school programs with the DW Wrestling Products line or the DW Athletics, Swenson Wichmann Athletics line.
I got red, black, and blue.
Still follow Minnesota wrestling pretty close. Especially at the youth level. I know a lot of these kids that come up to my table and we talk about wrestling. It's actually gotten to the point now, when I started selling in 1995, I was selling to little kids. The kids back then, they're adults now, and I'm selling to their children. So I've been doing this for quite a while.
I left Augsburg in 1984 to go to Rosemount High School. And in 1986, Donny was in the wrestling program, and Augsburg asked me to come back and be the wrestling coach again after I had left to go to Rosemount. And I had a meeting with one person, it was Donny, and I told Donny if he stayed with the program that I was going to come back as the head coach. We shook hands, and it's a handshake that lasted 30-some years.
I was doing my annual bike rides on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And on Thursday night, August 20th, I was out for my Thursday night bike ride, and about 3/4 of the way through, the left side of my body went tingly. Wasn't sure what was going on, so I kind of eased over to the side of the road. I was about 14 miles away. Just continued biking at a slow pace. Tingling went away and made it back home to the house. Just kind of told Mindy, my wife, about what had happened. And we just kind of decided together to go to the emergency room and just kind of get it checked out. Talking to the doctor, they took my vitals. I kind of told them what was going on. They at first thought left side of my body went tingly, possible heart attack. Second thing, possible stroke. And they decided to take a CAT scan of my head. So half hour later, I have a CAT scan, come back into the ER, talked with my doctor, and at that time they found a mass, a golf ball sized mass in the right side of my brain. And the next morning at 7:30, I got 4 doctors around my bed saying that this has to come out immediately.
I was 4 hours up north, and my wife called me, and Mindy had called Melissa, and I was up with my high school buddies on a fishing weekend, and she told me the news, and I went in to tell my high school buddies, and I broke down, and I'm sorry.
When I was in the emergency room and I had come back from that CAT scan and they said they had found a mass in my head, it really didn't hit me At that time, I was kind of like, okay, I've been out for a bike ride. Next thing you know, now I'm in the ER and they're telling me I have some type of mass in my head. And I wasn't sure how serious of a condition this was. And I just told them that I had to be at work the next day, and they go, well, you have more critical things to deal with other than not showing up for work tomorrow. So they admitted me to the hospital. Friday morning, the doctors came in, talked to me about my condition, talking about possible brain tumor, brain cancer, kind of hit home. But then they started talking about lengths of how long you could possibly live with this condition. And one of the doctors had stated a possible 2 years. Well, that didn't hit home for me at all. I kind of got a little bit of emotional about that. Told my family that was in the room that I was not going to be a statistic, like the doctor had said, only being able to stay alive 2 more years. There's no way. I got too much of my life ahead of me, and plus I'm a wrestler and I'll fight this thing all the way to the very end, and I'll never ever quit.
He's facing it head on, but I also know that Donny's going to have his quiet moments where he has to deal with the fact that this is life-threatening, and I think he's chose to stay busy and to will this thing out of his body, by being positive and by being active.
3 weeks ago, Dr. Tersham, my oncologist, called me with some news, and it's actually probably the best news that you can hear. 30% of brain tumors are methylated, and it's just the enzymes that make up the tumor. Well, my pathology test came back that my tumor was methylated, which is like the best news in the world. So when a tumor is methylated, it reacts better to the chemo and radiation, and it's not as strong as a normal tumor. So that's huge, huge news for me. It's a positive, and it just got me super fired up about this and to keep the fight on. I would say what I'm up against right now with this brain tumor and brain cancer is kind of parallel with what I went through with Augsburg wrestling. Always a daily challenge, runs, lifts, practice. You're tired, but you got to get up and fight, and that's the way it is with me right now. As soon as my 2 feet hit the floor in the morning, jump out of bed, I know I got to fight on, and I got plenty of years left in my life that I'm going to be hanging out, and look forward to retirement. As of right now, now that treatment's done, I really don't think about it a whole lot. I'm more concentrated on my wrestling business, my apparel business. Keep my mind off that, especially with the 4 weeks that I'm off right now, no treatments. I don't really think about it a whole lot. The only time I really think about it, I guess, is when I look in the mirror and I got a bald head.
He loves people, and people love him back, and it's even though it's work and it's sales, I think it's something he really enjoys, and they really enjoy him. You think about seeing Donny at a youth wrestling tournament, or seeing Donny, walk into your high school wrestling room to sell wrestling equipment. What's the first thing you think about? You think about that big old smile, and some great warm greeting that he's going to give you, and he makes everybody feel good about themselves. Donny Wichmann is not only the toughest person I know, but he's also the most generous person I know. And he's generous with his time, with any kind of resources he has. He's one of a kind. He's just a wonderful guy, and I'm so fortunate to have him in my life and to be able to call him one of my best friends ever.
Great coach, and just an overall great person, and I owe a lot to him.
Donny's a strong guy. Donny's going to beat this thing. Donny will fight this thing with all of his might. You know, one thing I found out about cancer is you don't do it alone. Donny really, really needs all of our help, our support. One of the greatest things that that happened, you know, was at homecoming when Donny showed up to the beanbag tournament, and there was 250 people with Augsburg Strong, Team DW, Team Wichmann shirts on, and he walked up and saw that. But he needs that kind of support from us, and he needs continued support from us, because this is going to be a lifelong battle.